Hey, entrepreneurs, your challenge this week is to learn how to use a decision tree. If you've never used one before, this is a fantastic tool for recognizing where you're feeling uncertain and helping you to move past that uncertainty. Because as I've preached over and over again, speed and certainty are connected. The more certain you feel about the plan and the path you're going to take, the more you naturally just start to work faster toward accomplishing the goal because you see clearly a path to getting toward your goal. The more you have this fuzzy uncertainty, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get there, the harder it is to motivate yourself and feel like you can charge forward. And the harder it is for you to motivate your team and take on that leadership role that allows people to have confidence in where you're taking them. But here's the thing. We know that often what you have to do is what's kind of like driving in the fog, right? You're not really sure until you get there. You drive a little bit in the fog, 10 feet, and then you can see around you a little bit more. You can decide from that point where the road is and how to progress, right? And so what we're trying to do is I'm trying to show you a method to overcome that lack of certainty by diagramming it out and owning it for what it is. So let me show you by sharing my screen here to show you what a decision tree looks like and how you should use it so that you can capture that uncertainty and turn it into something that gives you a clear path to move fast. All right, here we go. I've adapted this diagram from a fantastic book called Smart Decisions by John Hammond and his associates. And we're going to look at what happens when Janice is trying to decide if she's going to have her wedding with a hotel dinner dance or a mountain picnic. And so this might seem a little odd, but just bear with me because it helps you to see from a very familiar example how we can capture uncertainty in a way that makes it less uncertain. Okay, so the hotel dinner dance, that's one of the alternatives, right? In other words, that's one of the options to achieve her goal, which is a fun wedding that is great for everybody involved, right? But there's uncertainty. And what you want to do is you want to identify the point at which that uncertainty arises. So if we have two alternatives, but the uncertainty is represented by these circles. As you can see down here, we have uncertainty represented by circles, and then we have decision points represented by squares. So she has to decide right here, am I going to do the hotel or am I going to do the mountain picnic? All right, so if we look at the uncertainty, we see the question is it going to rain or not? So if it's going to rain, then it's going to be less fun, right? To be outside in the mountain picnic, and probably a better choice to go with the hotel dinner dance. But this is the thing, is Janet doesn't know if it's going to rain or not. But what she can do is take base rates. So base rates are those statistical concept. It's a statistical concept that means if you were not influencing the results at all, we just took a random sample, how likely is something to happen? So instead of her trying to predict, is it going to rain or not? This is about saying, on average, how often does it rain in this location? And if we know that there's a 30% chance of rain, then there's a 70% chance of shine, right? And so if it doesn't rain, then she's then looking at these consequences. Well, okay, under that circumstance where I chose the hotel and it was sunny outside, we're going to still have fun. Family involvement is going to be medium, and the expense is going to be pretty high. If it was sunny outside and she had gone the mountain picnic route, then she could have spent a lot less money, had higher family involvement, and high fun. So same amount of fun for half the price, right? So this is where it helps when you're unsure, when you say, well, there's this uncertainty. It helps if you diagram it out like this, because then you know what the odds are. You know what you're dealing with if you decide to take a risk and say, choose the mountain picnic. And you have a plan in mind for, well, how bad would that be? Would we be able to tolerate it if that happened? So for example, the low, if it was to rain, and then the fun would be low, family involvement would be low, and the cost would be a little bit higher because she'd have to probably buy some tents or something at the last minute, right? So this is a process that often for entrepreneurs is going to have more than just a few uncertainty points here. For a lot of entrepreneurs, there might be a scenario where you have, let's say, 3 different paths that you could go. And each of those paths have that uncertainty point here. And there might be like 3 or 4 different possible outcomes for each of those. What you can do is you can just rank each of those based on the likelihood of them happening, using base rates and in some cases just your best judgment, your best guess. And then you can use something called an expected value table if you wanted to take the next step to sort of average out the various, if you were to average out the impact of all of those things in terms of cost or in terms of added revenue, what that average would come out to equal for each of these different possibilities. You can average them together and say, okay, now that we've looked at the average possibilities for each of these, then which one looks the best now? But the main point here, the main idea is that what we're trying to do is we're trying to decrease the degree to which you're just trying to hold all of that data in your head. Because if you're not thinking on paper, you're not taking advantage of the opportunity to think more logically and in terms of statistics and likelihood, which often once you put it down on paper, it makes it more obvious. And you see that, okay, there's a very small chance of this thing happening and we could easily deal with it if it did, but there's such a huge upside going the other way that we're going to go the other way because that's by far the most likely thing to happen. That kind of certainty allows you to work with speed. So here's your challenge for this week. If there's something that's holding you back, some decision, some direction in your business, and you're just not sure what you should do next, it could be something like, should I hire somebody? Should I partner with someone? Should I bring in this external team to help speed us up? I challenge you to use a decision tree like this. Try to get an estimate. Even if it's just an educated guess, you're going to find that you feel more certain after looking at a decision tree like this. And that certainty will translate into greater speed. Take the challenge. It's not difficult. Just pull out a piece of paper, start playing around with the decision tree, and I think you'll like the result. Talk to you next week.